White. My name is Meeka Morgan. I am Secwepemc, Statliam, and Lakepem on my father's side, and Nuchanoth on my mother's side. I was very blessed to be able to be raised in both territories, in the desert and in the rainforest. I was very close to my grandparents growing up, as well as had a lot of responsibility to service family and community growing up. I was the eldest of 6 daughters, so there's a lot of responsibility that is placed upon you when you're the oldest in your family. I believe that all these experiences really molded me to be the adult that I am today. High school was not a very positive experience for me. I didn't see myself represented anywhere as an Indigenous person, even in the curriculum, which really bothered me and brought a lot of questions to light. Came to the point where I just needed to get out of that system so that I could attain higher knowledge, get into university, which was always a dream of mine. I was a very early writer and an early reader. I was reading probably before kindergarten, and I was writing stories at a very early age, something that I really enjoyed doing. And so going to university, I didn't expect to specialize in sociology. I just decided to take some courses because I didn't want to waste time trying to figure out exactly what I wanted to do. I ended up getting a bachelor's degree in sociology, majoring in sociology, minoring in First Nation studies and English as well. I received a Native Studies research certificate. I still wasn't sure where that was going to take me. So after that happened, I was introduced very randomly by a friend of mine to a curator of an art gallery who was interested in my work because an artist that they were working with had gotten a very large grant to carry out a project around collaborative art. Now, I didn't see myself working in this capacity, but because I figured that wasn't exactly, but it was close to a goal or a vision of mine, I decided to take the risk and to be a part of it. And that became my life for 3 years, as well as developing the next 15 years of my work. It was an incredible project where we focused on collaborative art and music with Indigenous youth and their families. And it actually introduced me to the people that I still work with to this day. I ended up going and as well to continuing my education to receive my master's degree. My master's degree was on impacts on families of the Secwepemc Nation people, especially people that were born in between around the time my father was born. This experience really developed the core of my work. What I believe that I was trying to do was to bring some further true representation of Indigenous people in our regions. So I started designing projects that would focus on that, focus on how Indigenous people saw themselves, their identity, focused on very little known pieces of very significant history in terms of the struggles and land rights and jurisdiction and basically anything that was affecting the condition of Indigenous people's lives. Any information on that is what I thought that people should know when they're living on these territories. So I started to design and develop all types of workshops and projects that were based on this premise, which enabled us to develop this wonderful crew of people that I work with. I started a Indigenous arts and music collective called the Malaman Collective, who still performs to this day. We also do workshops. We mentor and facilitate these projects with youth, and if they enjoy continuing working with us, we continue the mentorship through further work. I now work right now I'm doing exclusively doing work for the Two Rivers Remix Festival, which is an all Indigenous music and arts festival. I'm the artistic director, but I also still do projects around BC, I still mentor youth. Our arts and music collective, the Malaman Collective, is now a performing musical group as well. So I am able to express my creativity still through that. I also have my own solo projects that I do musically, as well as written solo projects that I work on. I think one of the challenges that I had to overcome at the beginning is that just because you don't see something represented doesn't mean that it doesn't need to be represented. It doesn't mean that there's no value in it being represented. If it's something that is important to you and makes you feel more value, it likely is needed. So have some belief in that. Success to me as an entrepreneur means that it's very important for me to be happy in my life and for us to create more indigeneity in the way that we live, that we don't just have to adopt this way of Western society living. We can be innovative and adaptive, and those are characteristics that our people have had to have, especially since colonization, but they have always had those. They have always had to have those characteristics. And I think when you doubt yourself, you have to call on the you have to call on your grandmothers, your grandfathers, all those that came before you. You have to think about the things that they had to go through in order for you to exist here right now. The more that you think about that and put that in your heart, you can also do those things that in, 4 or 5 generations, people are going to think those things of you. And I think that's very important. Successful entrepreneur, I think for sure you have to be teachable. You have to be teachable. You have to understand that your willingness to learn is of more importance than the teacher who knows all. That is very important. Be teachable. Keep your mind open. Keep your heart open. Learn to listen. Learn to observe yourselves. Observe yourself when you have reactions that you don't understand. And understand that it's a practice as well. All of these things are practices, meaning that it's not just going to come naturally. These are things that are practice, and with more practice they will become more natural. And I think you just have to believe in yourself and understand that there's going to be some learning points which you might feel are down points, and there's going to be some high points where you're going to realize, sometimes your work will be realized. And as well, don't let the naysayers and the negative people get you down. Sometimes there might be one or two. Don't let that take over, the 20 plus or whatever that are getting something from what you're doing. Don't forget about those people. They need you too. And just pray for the other ones. Maybe they'll come around. I've had instances where people that I never thought would come around did come around in their own way. And, to this day, they'll still wave at me, even though at first they didn't even want to listen to anything I had to say. So, believe in yourself. Believe in humans' abilities to change, adapt, and transform our reality. Jam.